Shalom Aleichem and welcome to Machin Leira Online Smicha. Another interesting fact about one of the miracles that took place in the Beis Hamikdash. The Mishnah says in Pirkei Avos Perek Hey Mishnah Hey, Asara Nisim Nasal Aveseinu Beis Hamikdash. There are actually in the Beis Hamikdash or in Yerushalayim even more. Many miracles took place, and the Gemara in Yuma elaborates even more than what the Mishnah says. But today I'm going to discuss the two miracles that were connected with the Mizbeach. It says, "V'leichibu hageshamim eishel atzei hamaracha." The rain, I'm sure from time to time, rain fell. The rain did not extinguish the fire that was burning on the atzei hamaracha, on the mizbeach, on the pile of wood. V'leinitzcha haruach as amud ha'ashon, and no wind was able to prevail, to move aside, to overpower the strong smoke, the beam of smoke that came from the mizbeach. No wind was able to push it aside, and that's obviously a miracle. Now, the Torah in Parshas Tzav, the Torah says clearly, the Eish Tamid Tukad al Mizbeach Leisichba. There always had to be a fire burning there on the Mizbeach, and the Gemara tells us that the Kohanim constantly had to add wood to make sure that the fire doesn't go out. And you're not no yid is allowed to do anything to diminish or make the fire smaller, in the sense that it might extinguish. However, there is a chiddush. The Gemara Masechtas Zvachim Daf Tzadik Aleph Amud Beis says that if somebody donated wine to the Beis Hamikdash as a carbon, you were able to do nisachim. You're able to pour the wine on the mizbeach, even though that practically when you pour wine on a fire, it diminishes the fire. It makes it less. That was an exception to the rule that they were able to do. Now, the Rabbeinu Bechaye says in Parshas Tzav that we actually find even a bigger chiddush, a bigger miracle with the Mizbeach, at least the Mizbeach she'asa Moshe, and he calls this the Nes Hagadol Hanasa b'Mizbeach. And that is that the Moshe Rabbeinu's Mizbeach was made out of atzei shitim, was made out of cedar wood. And it was only glazed, it was only covered with a thin layer of copper. So now you have wood, which is the primary structure of the Mizbeach, and you have copper. And if there is a fire burning there, and it's such a fire that's burning there forever, lo yisichba. According to the Medrash in Vayikra Rabbah Perek Zayin, it says that the fire lasted for 116 years consecutively, non-stop. How is it physically, humanly possible that a fire like that doesn't melt the copper? And if it melts the copper, it gets through the copper, how is it that it doesn't burn the wood? So the Rabbeinu Bechaya, as mentioned before, considers this one of the greatest nisim. What is the greatest nisim? And that's by Mizbeach she'asa Moshe. Later on in the Shleima's Mizbeach, it's actually said it's made out of stone, so there you don't see that nest anymore, because it controls fire. But at least the Mizbeach she'asa Moshe, which is atzei shitim, it's a miracle that the fire lasted for 116 years and didn't consume and didn't burn the Mizbeach. Now, what did the fire look like on the Mizbeach? So the Gemara Masechta Yuma says, Daf Chaf Aleph Amud Beis, that in the Beis Hamikdash Harishon, the fire on the Mizbeach was shaped like a lion crouching. And the Beis Hamikdash Hasheni, it would look like a dog. The design, the shape of the fire coming out of the Mizbeach was like a dog. And the Marsha explains what's the significance, what's the reason for this. And he says like this, in the Beis Hamikdash Harishon, since it was built through Shlomo HaMelech. Shlomo HaMelech comes from the Shevet Yehuda, and we know that Shevet Yehuda is compared to a lion. So it was shown by the fire of the Mizbeach shaped in a lion. Whereas the Bayis Sheni, which was built through Malchus Paras, the Persians, and the Gemara tells us in Rosh Hashanah that Malchus Paras is Doima Lekelev. They're compared to dogs. So therefore, the shape of the fire on the Mizbeach was shaped like a dog in Malchus Paras. Either way, these are tremendous miracles. And the Frierdiker Rebbe writes, the Rebbe quotes this in a Sicha in Tav Shalom Vav, that even though these miracles were primarily done in the Beis Hamikdash, and you might think that we don't have the Beis Hamikdash anymore, but really each one of these miracles in our spiritual Beis Hamikdash is still happening. And the Medrash Shmuel says on this Mishnah that he says, what is the Avodas Hashem of not allowing the rain to extinguish the fire? The lesson of Avodas Hashem is water and fire are usually opposites. However, when it comes to serving Hashem, they make peace together. They'll work together to serve Hashem. That's something that we have to learn to do. And the next miracle that it didn't blow away the wind, the strong pillar of wind, the strong pillar of smoke. Says that the Medrash Shmuel, usually wind is much too powerful. Wind could even uproot mountains. And smoke seems to be the easiest thing to push away. Nevertheless, a person who is connected to Torah mitzvahs, even if he feels very weak about himself, he creates an atmosphere, a strong point that the strongest winds in the world cannot blow him away.